Welcome to this premium IT explainer. If you've ever found yourself wondering how modern organizations manage to lock down their sensitive data while still keeping their employees completely productive, well, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're exploring the absolute bedrock of modern corporate cloud security, Microsoft Entra ID. It's essentially the central nervous system that manages your users, your groups, authentication, and access to all of your apps and resources. So let's jump right in.
Okay, let's look at our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the core of identity, and then move on to users, groups, and roles. In Section 3, we'll tackle authentication versus authorization, followed by securing the login with single sign-on and MFA. Finally, we'll wrap the whole thing up with advanced identity concepts.
So, Section 1, the core of identity, building the foundation. Before we get into complex architectures, we absolutely have to define what an identity actually is in this context. Simply put, it's a digital representation of a user, an application, or even a device, used specifically for authentication and authorization. In Microsoft Entra, identity is your core central authority. It manages your users and access. Whenever someone or something attempts to sign in, Entra immediately goes to work to answer one fundamental question: who are you? It checks the user, verifies those credentials, sees if extra security is needed, and figures out exactly what resources that specific user is actually allowed to touch.
To really cement this in your mind, think of this whole process as a three-step gateway. Step 1 is identity. Who are you? Step 2 is authentication. Prove it. And step 3 is authorization. What can you actually access? Keep this little memory trick in mind, okay? Every single time someone interacts with Microsoft Entra, they are literally walking through these three gates. It is the core framework for everything we're about to talk about.
Moving right along to Section 2, users, groups, and roles. This is all about organizing the workforce. Let's break down the main structural components here. First up, you have users. These are the individual people signing into your Microsoft services, folks like Ahmed, Fatima, or John. But let's be real, managing permissions one by one for thousands of users, that's an absolute IT nightmare. And that brings us to groups. Instead of giving Ahmed and Fatima their own individual permissions, you just organize them into functional groups, like the HR team, the finance team, or IT administrators, and you assign the permissions right there. It's vastly more efficient. Finally, we have roles, which define exactly what a user can actually do inside the system, like being a global administrator or a user administrator.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how it leads us to an incredibly powerful concept, RBAC, or Role-Based Access Control. Instead of manually assigning permissions to individuals, RBAC ties those permissions to predefined roles. By using RBAC, assigning someone the global administrator role, which is the highest privilege role in Entra ID, instantly and securely scales their access across the entire system. It completely removes the guesswork and honestly, drastically reduces administrative errors. It's a real game changer.
Let's hit Section 3, authentication versus authorization. This is a crucial distinction, separating the second and third gates of our security journey.
Blurring these two concepts together is a really common tripping point, so let's contrast them side by side. Authentication verifies who you are. It's the login process. The system asks, "Are you Ahmed?" and checks a password or an MFA prompt. If those credentials match, cool, the system believes you're Ahmed. But crucially, that doesn't mean you get to see everything. That is where authorization comes in. Authorization determines what resources you can access after you've successfully signed in. It's the permission process governed by those roles we just talked about. Think of it like the system asking, okay, but can Ahmed access the finance data? Put simply, authentication gets you into the building. Authorization determines which rooms you actually have the keys to open.
All right, Section 4, single sign-on and MFA, securing the login.
When it comes to verifying identity these days, basic passwords are just no longer enough. Honestly, they're just one fragile little piece of the modern security puzzle. Microsoft Entra ID brings in advanced methods like multi-factor authentication, the Microsoft Authenticator app, and physical FIDO2 security keys. Having this varied toolkit allows organizations to step up their security posture way beyond simple text-based passwords.
By requiring multi-factor authentication, or MFA, which is just an additional verification method besides a password, you significantly harden that authentication gate. Just think about the risk for a second. Even if a bad actor manages to compromise a user's password, with MFA they immediately hit a brick wall. Without that secondary mobile app approval or physical key in their hand, they simply cannot get in. No way. And this brilliantly illustrates how MFA pairs perfectly with single sign-on, or SSO. SSO allows users to authenticate just once through that strict MFA gate we just talked about, and then Entra ID automatically passes that validated identity to all your connected apps. It is the ultimate balancing act. You get incredibly strict security for the IT department while completely eliminating password fatigue for the workforce. Win-win.
Let's wrap up our core topics with Section 5, Advanced Identity Concepts. These are your heavy-hitting administrator tools.
Entra ID offers some incredibly smart, advanced dashboard-style toggles for IT admins. First up is conditional access. Think of this like a remarkably smart bouncer checking not just your ID, but looking at your location, your device health, and your current risk level before letting you in the door. Second is SSPR, or Self-Service Password Reset. This little feature empowers users to safely reset their own passwords, which can single-handedly eliminate like half the tickets sitting in your IT help desk queue. It's fantastic.
Let's move to our next concept and see how this all builds into what we call hybrid identity. Because, let's face it, not every company is 100% in the cloud yet. Hybrid identity seamlessly bridges the gap between a traditional on-premises Active Directory setup and the modern cloud-based Microsoft Entra ID. It essentially allows you to maintain those old local servers while smoothly connecting to modern cloud infrastructure, managing your identities cleanly and consistently across both worlds. So the crucial point is this. We've taken a journey today from the basics of who you are, to proving it, to clearly defining what you can access. Identity, to authentication, to authorization. We've explored the groups, those advanced conditional policies, and the modern login protections that make up Microsoft Entra ID. In today's cloud landscape, traditional firewalls just aren't enough anymore. Identity itself literally is the new security perimeter. Which leaves me with a question for you to reflect on. Considering your own real-world setup and all the tools we've explored in this explainer today, how secure is your organization's front door? Thanks so much for joining me.